I'll never forget when because I didn't, like the rest of us, I didn't know who Bernie Sanders was until 2016.
Mhm.
And the way I was introduced to Bernie Sanders was through a Jon Stewart bit because, I mean, look at me.
Yeah.
And it's Bernie standing like in front of a pier or something like that. I don't know, like there was like a lake or an ocean, behind him, and it, the Daily Show team, like they like cut up his speech and basically was like into his buzzwords, and he was like, Medicare for all, free college tuition, getting out of these dang the stuff that he says.
Yeah.
And then, but before he had said that, Jon Stewart ran a clip of basically every major news network, probably somewhere on ABC, because I think I don't know, maybe there were a few MSNBC anchors back then that were like pretty anti Bernie.
Yeah.
They all seem to have retired by now. But Jon Stewart's team, they played a clip of them being like, oh, look at this guy, he's a socialist, for God's sake, he's a loon. And then play Bernie's speech, and then Jon Stewart goes, what a reasonable left of center politician.
Yeah. I remember.
And I was just like, huh? I didn't know people like this existed.
Yeah, I remember in 2016 going on Reddit one morning, because it was 2016 and that's what teenage guys do, and seeing like on the front page the #1 post being like, Bernie Sanders, a socialist from Vermont, announces his presidential campaign. And I was like, what? And I read into it. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of like this guy. And I came downstairs. I was like, Mom, Dad, did you hear about Bernie Sanders running for president? And they were like, who? Doing what? And I mean, that picture is a classic picture that you see all the time among like Bernie fans now, where it's him and like 5 supporters in one news outlet there. And then like juxtaposed with his pictures of rallies that he's sold out like football stadiums. It's been quite the trip for him and quite the trip for the party, especially on all the issues he's pushed the party left on.
And you can say that it's so interesting because you can say Bernie Sanders has this storied political career. You can really summarize, leave Joe Mentum strong. You can really summarize Bernie's whole like impact that he's had, not just upon the American political system, but I think upon the world.
Yeah.
In the past 5 years, which I think his entire career was kind of building to that point.
Mm-hmm.
But his whole impact, that's a weird thing that I think not enough people talk about for Sanders, is that his impact didn't come through legislation. It actually just came through being loud and saying things that people wanted to hear.
Mm-hmm. And a common critique of Bernie is that none of his policies really get passed that he proposes in the Senate. So, Medicare for all, Green New Deal, all the other stuff.
Other people will pass them.
Other things that we're about to talk about. But the thing is, what he does is his main role in the Senate especially has not been passing key points of legislation, but pushing everyone very slowly left so that things like Obamacare can get passed, because he's arguing, he's doing I can't remember the name of the psychological technique, but Trump does it too, where, you're super extreme on an issue so that the moderates on your same side seem normal and correct. So, Trump being so harsh on immigration makes a reasonable Republican who might be saying, what, Bush's policies on immigration were, seem normal and much more palatable. And
exactly.
Bernie's done that a lot in the Senate, regardless of whether you like or dislike his policies. Bernie Sanders is probably one of the most important people in the passage of like Obamacare and other major acts like that have happened in the Senate in the past 10
And weirdly enough,
years.
It's not because of anything that he's done,
mm-hmm.
but it's because of everything that he just Bernie shouting is the best thing that he could possibly do, which is a weird thing to say out loud, but in hindsight, it's pretty true.
Yeah.